Hey everybody, it's Ron over at Becoming Enlightened Together. I've taken a couple of weeks off. I'm currently helping to care for somebody elderly, and I myself have also had something of a health scare this last couple of weeks, so I just took some time off. I've been doing readings pretty much every day, or most days anyways. I just haven't posted anything in a while. So I figured I'd do the weekly read. That's Sunday all the way through next Saturday, and then we'll start doing the daily reads on top of that as well. And when I can, maybe throw a tarot reading or two in there as well. And we'll see. Okay. But the overall energy for the week, unfortunately, for my grand return, is not particularly good. It looks like it's for either the cross watcher out there or potentially those who are going through the end of their cycle, and a karmic cycle, I might add. So with that being said, we see things such as legal problems being brought up in this reading. We see hassles brought up 3 different times, poverty twice, homelessness. We see the need to seek clarity 3 times in this reading. We also see the wrath of God and, the loss of the divine link twice in this reading. So, as you can tell, just based on that information alone, it is not necessarily one of those, uh, you know, past positive readings that we've shared. So let's go ahead and get into it. Again, the overall energy for the week is that of Othala and the reverse. Now, Othala in the upright typically talks about things dealing with one's heritage and ancestry, things of that nature, including ancestral inheritances and property. But in the reverse, it talks about frustrations and recklessness and legal problems even. It talks about hassles, the lack of any order in one's life, possibly totalitarianism of some sort. Somebody just ruling over you with an iron fist. Slavery is part of this, poverty and homelessness, just overall bad karma, prejudiceness, clannishness. So it deals with the racial aspect of things very, very specifically, and that's this whole week. And it also talks about that thing that binds someone. So somebody here is definitely bound either through their deeds, misdeeds, or possible addictions, and it's causing a great deal of, their current bad karma. All right. Now, the overall energy for Sunday is Isa. Isa is in the upright. Okay. Now, Isa basically talks about stasis, static, ice, coldness, energy loss, or cooling. Exactly what the laws of thermodynamics speak of in terms of what cooling actually represents. Talks about challenges and frustrations, a possible standstill even. Talks about even blocks psychologically in one's consciousness. But it also talks about this is the time to turn inward and seek what is next, to seek clarity. Okay? So go within and start learning to trust in your intuition. It does take effort and it does take practice. Okay? And I'm telling you from somebody who practices probably daily and has for years, there's still moments where, these things are quite difficult to reconcile. Now, today's energy is that of Yera. Monday is Yera. Now, Yera is also in the reversal in this particular case. Now, Yera in the reverse talks about things such as the fruition of any endeavor cannot be rushed, okay? So it's God's timing, not yours, basically, is what it's getting to. It also talks about things that happen seasonally, okay? So it talks about sudden setbacks and reversals. It talks about major changes, unexpected changes, possible repetition in some things, bad timing all the way across the board. And again, it talks about poverty and possible conflicts. So we're seeing a fairly common theme throughout this week, and it's less than positive energy. Okay, so Tuesday's energy is that of Sowilo. And Sowilo as well is also in the reversal in this particular case. So ordinarily a very positive rune. In the reverse, it talks about somebody who is quite self-centered, again, somebody who is probably very narcissistic or has narcissistic tendencies, whether you want to believe in that particular, state of being or not. There are people that are in that state of being. All right, talks about giving or receiving bad counsel. Talks about being very vulnerable in this period of time. And again, we're talking about Wednesday. No, I'm talking about Tuesday. I'm sorry. So we're talking about a sense of gullibility, even maybe a false sense of success. Talks about losing one's goals, self-destruction, retribution, justice, casting down of vanity, and the wrath of God. So again, this is somebody that God is not pleased with, somebody who has gotten a lot of different warnings from their ancestors and from the Most High, and they have simply avoided them, ignored them, not listened to them at all, not made any changes. That's what this is telling me. So somebody in our lives is still in this energy, guys. Keep that in mind, because there are also implications that this person is coming back. Now, Wednesday, what we have is Algiz also in the reversal. Again, this is a very powerful rune, typically in the upright. But in the reverse, it talks about somebody who is used by other people. Again, somebody who might be working within or around a great deal of hidden dangers at this time. Someone who is being consumed by divine forces. And again, that could be because of their dark energy coming back on them. What goes around comes around, inevitably. Talks about a loss of one's divine link. That's not a good place to be, people. Talks about taboos. Perhaps you've been denying the essence of God, which is foolishness in any level. I mean, the evidence for a creator is abundant everywhere you look. Okay? You can believe in whatever you want to believe in. I'm not trying to discourage you from whatever beliefs that you feel, are suitable for yourself, but it is something that should come with a great deal of effort and not just taken haphazardly like most. Alright, so this also gives us warnings. It talks about somebody who's turned away. They themselves chose to turn away. So this is typical, for example, of Satan worshippers and people like that who dismiss anything that is looked at as being holy or especially Christian. They do exactly the opposite. That which repels. Okay? That's also part of Wednesday's energy. Now, Thursday, we have the rune Rado, and Rado is in the upright, one of the few that we have throughout the week. And that's on Thursday. And what that means, basically anything to do with travel. Wheels, chariot, steering wheel, carriage, vehicle, your car, whatever, bus. Talks about traveling, journeying, even vacations. It talks about possible relocations as well, so it may not always be positive, especially in lieu of the other energy that we have. It talks about an evolution, moving through a process. It talks about changes in place or setting. Once again, it could be completely, catching you by surprise. That's what it's alluding to. It talks about having a larger perspective on something or seeing something that needs to be done or an action that needs to be carried out and setting your mind towards it. Okay? It talks about cosmic cycles, the cycles of life as well. That's what Rado in the upright stands for. Now, our last two energies are also in the reverse. So for Friday, what we have is Ewas. Ewas looks like, well, in this case, upright, upside down, it looks like a W, but it typically looks like an M, and that is the letter E in their alphabet. I know it gets a little confusing, but what it means in the reversal is, again, talking about long journeys. For some of us, it has been a very, very long journey indeed. And still no three-dimensional, calling cards that are stating that it's over. But I do believe that it is getting close to the end. I do. And it's not just for my own psychological welfare that I'm saying that. I really, really feel that way. I believe that to be true. I think that we're almost home. But it also talks about not just, long journeys, but sudden changes. Timing, once again, being completely off. Maybe you're craving some form of change. Maybe you're feeling restless and confined. Talks about a form of reckless haste involved, reacting too hastily, a feeling of mistrust and disharmony among the ranks, and even betrayal. So if you're experiencing that, and we all have at some point, uh, of course, my regards. They go out to you. My feelings are out there with you as well. It's just fucked up, especially when it's somebody that you really trusted in and wanted to believe in. Sometimes we just choose to see the better in people, and we don't obviously see many of the red flags, telltale signs, so to speak, that would otherwise be noticed by perhaps other people. Even if you are extremely intuitive, especially if you are intuitive, because you're usually empathetic as well, and you have a tendency to project who you are onto them. And often you're let down because they are not who you are. They are not at the same level that you are. They have not done the same amount of work that you have, and thus they are still prone to doing many of the same shenanigans, in regards to how they treat you, what they think they can get away with, or perhaps take from you in some form or fashion. It's horrible, but it's the truth. And finally, the energy for Saturday, also in the reverse, is the god Freyr's rune, and it's Ingwas. Ing is another name for Freyr. The god Freyr is the twin of Freya, the goddess, and he is the great earth god. So in the reverse, however, what it talks about is uh, beginnings and endings, kind of like the death card in tarot. Okay, something has to end before something new can begin, that kind of a thing. So it talks about completions and endings. It talks about limits and coming full circle. It talks about perhaps blindness and hopelessness. So what comes of this is really dependent on who the receiver of this message is. If indeed it is somebody who's going through a karmic time of their life, or perhaps they're finally realizing that the way they've treated others is now what they themselves are experiencing, and I see a lot of that in this reading, then you're at kind of a crossroads. Are you going to accept responsibility and your part in this, and then start doing the work on this? Because if you've chosen that path, then you are doing a service. You are doing the right thing. You are working within the realms of spirituality, by dealing with your shadows, so to speak, dealing with your own demons, exercising your own demons. You don't need anybody else to do this, okay? But it does take a great deal of courage, strength. It takes a great deal of discipline. So if you want to achieve it, you can. All right, so that's the overall energy for the week. It's not particularly great. Again, we got hassles 3 times, poverty twice, and homelessness twice. The wrath of God twice, losing divine link once, uh, casting down of vanity once. So the Most High Himself is involved in this reading for this, the karmics. Talks about long journeys and sense of hopelessness, and of course everything from legal problems to racism and prejudice to disloyalty, destruction, all of that. But it also talks on the good side about using and trusting your intuition and evolving. And again, the first rule of any type of survival is basically the person who can evolve or adapt is the one most likely to survive. Okay, so that's what we see here for this week. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Enjoyed your Easter Sunday and everything else if you celebrate. If you celebrate Ishtar or whatever the case may be, like I said, there's no judgment for me whatsoever. We're all trying to discover the truth in our life. And only those who are brave enough to look under every rock and weather the storm of the very obvious discouragement that you're going to get from others in your life who think that they already have the answers and they want you to subscribe to their answer for your life. So, that's always a difficult bridge, to get across without it burning down or what have you. But it can be done. It requires a great deal of patience. And I wish you all the necessary energy in terms of patience that you can use to get on that side of the bridge. Alright, so with that being said, as always, stay victorious. I'll see you someday in Valhalla. Till then, take care. God bless.